Welcome to Beyond the Road, the trucking industry podcast. My name is Eric here with ATS. In this episode, we're talking about what to expect shipping in May. Got with me some guests here, Jerry and Jordan with ATS. And why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, my name is Jerry Ramirez. I'm one of the operations managers on our logistics side. My emphasis is mainly on the open deck, so the flatbed type freight.
And Jordan Holthaus, regional sales and service manager, and on the specialized flatbed division.
All right. Like we talked about, we're focusing this episode on what shippers need to take account for when shipping in May. A couple of smaller things that we got going on throughout the month, actually at the end of the month, and then kind of one major one here in the middle of the month that we'll kind of touch base at the end here. But I guess kind of starting off, what should some shippers plan to account for during the month of May?
May can really be kind of like the real kickoff to like summer, right? You know, at the end of school and things like that happening. But really, I mean, for us in the transportation world, I mean, construction season, road construction, those are all can be things that affect transportation for shippers.
Mm-hmm.
Memorial Day, that's a big one. Having a day off for everyone.
Right, and that can affect obviously just drivers' interest in heading home, not being on the road. Obviously, kind of constricting the capacity of trucks available on the road, right?
Yeah, there's restriction. There could be, you know, more people on the road. That could be a kind of a danger for drivers and things like that. But then also there's can be like oversize for us, like on our side of the business that we work in daily. When you get around the holidays, there can be road restrictions as far as travel time you can do with your oversized loads too.
Okay.
So,
and along with that, I mean, we should both the open deck type of stuff, the heavy haul over dimensional types things. We talk about frost laws during the winter and spring, I guess springtime. Hopefully those are kind of wrapping up or should be wrapped up, especially this year, would you say?
Yeah, with the weather that I think most of the U.S. has had, I think it should be done by now. So I'm not aware of anything else still really going to carry over into May. So hopefully we're all cleared up and past that by now.
Okay. And I guess, and then like we talked about or mentioned, kind of really the big one is the DOT Blitz Week. That coming in May, between May 14th and 16th. I guess what is DOT Blitz Week?
Really, it's just an international road check. You did say the 14th through the 16th, Tuesday through Thursday, but really we're also talking about the weeks leading up to it as well. Capacity is going to start tightening. You're going to see some increases in charges of everything to shippers and receivers both.
Yeah, I think really, it's called Blitz Week, but it's really a check-in for safety, right? And I think that's what the main emphasis is by the CVSA, I believe is the acronym that runs that. And then they're going through and do safety checks, and they do inspections, and they usually have two main focuses they do each year.
And you bring up CVSA. I did doing some research here that does stand for Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance. This is a nonprofit organization that started in 1980, has over 4,000 members in North America. So we talk about it in transportation for the U.S., but the Blitz Week is for all of North America, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. Where I guess on average they talk about 15 trucks per minute are typically pulled over on the side of the road in North America getting these inspections.
Yeah, during that 72-hour blitz, that's what they call it a blitz, is because it is so heavy in that short time frame where they are really inspecting. I mean, I've seen them even locally here where we live. On the side of the road, they set up little stations, and they're checking trucks everywhere. So,
what was it? 15 trucks every 1 minute, I think?
Yes. Something
like that.
Yeah, so it's definitely a blitz when you think about it on that part of things, how many trucks they're doing in that time frame.
And so while it's a big blitz across the country, and kind of they do an overall inspection, but every year it seems there's one or two things that they kind of highlight or really focus on. This year it sounds like tractor protection systems.
Yep. So
what exactly is that again, Jerry?
So what we've looked at and we've seen is it's going to be what they call the glad hands. So it's like the attachments from the tractor to the trailer.
Okay.
And that usually runs like your airlines for your brakes and for your emergency brakes. And they also have an electrical one there. But they're going to test those to make sure there's no faults in there. There's like a safety cutoff valve. So whenever they detach those, they should be engaging and safely making sure the equipment's operating correctly. So that's a quick way to be put out of service if you're not maintaining your equipment. So you guys make sure you're pretty on point with your equipment and making sure you're doing your own inspections ahead of time.
And for more information on that, we do have a video that our safety team did put together on more in-depth of that tractor protection system inspection that they are doing. Along with that, an alcohol and controlled substance protection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are looking inside the cab, obviously to make sure that there is no alcohol, anything controlled substance, anything inside the vehicle. Drivers are safe on the road and everything, and not having to worry about that.
Yeah, I think per the DOT, there's not anything allowed in the truck that is alcohol or controlled substances. So
Okay.
pretty easy. It's an on and off, and it should always be off.
So kind of those 2 days, that's 3 days. That's what they're really focusing on. But like we said, it kind of does affect almost the week before rolling into that week, and then it can go into the past DOT blitz, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, capacity gets tight, right?
Yeah.
Jordan, when you think about like your fleet and what you're doing with your trucks, like you're making sure everybody's on the road that can be on the road. And you're just trying to make sure you can offer your services to as many customers as you can.
Mm-hmm.
But there's times that trucks do just take that week off.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that the drivers are scared that they're doing anything wrong. They could have everything up to par, but it's more or less, just because those focuses are there, the tractor protection systems, alcohol and controlled substance, does not mean that they can limit it to that.
Mm-hmm.
They can do a full inspection, truck and trailer, small, anything mechanical, brakes, lights, hours of service. So really you're kind of putting your livelihood on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys just would rather stay home for that week and just not put themselves out there for it.
Which does make sense. And so kind of rolling into that, kind of get a better understanding what DOT Blitz Week is and how that affects capacity and drivers on the road. We're talking about the shippers that have freight to move that week. As a shipper, I guess, what can they plan for, and how does it affect them?
I think planning is a big word, right? And with the planning comes communication and just making sure you're communicating what your needs are with your shipping providers, right? What your expectations are and what you need. But with this, blitz going on and the safety checks going on, there's a chance that there could be downtime, right? And things that can come up. Because the inspection itself can take 60 to 90 minutes, and sometimes 2 hours. And that's if everything goes well.
Mm-hmm.
That's how detailed they are, and that's them inspecting not only those two main focus points, right? But they're going through the entire truck. They call it a level 1 inspection. So it takes some time, and the driver has to stop. So that could delay your delivery. That could delay your pickup, and just the transit in between. So those are things that you have to be ready for as a shipper and a receiver, just making sure that there's possible delays that could happen. But what happens if something goes wrong and something doesn't pass, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, you could be looking at, you said 30 to 60 minutes. You could be looking at days. I mean, we may be looking on our end operationally, having to bring in another driver, to take that over, to transload that over, or just to pull that trailer with them. And that all depends on capacity as well in the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like you said, if you got a part that doesn't pass the inspection, the brakes or even a light or whatever it may be, if it's one of the glad hands. But if you're in an area where you just don't happen to have one with you,
Mm-hmm.
then you got to wait till the next day to get the shop open to order the part and get it to you. I mean, that's all downtime that's not expected, right? So the key is communication on our part and with the customers, just making sure they know what we're going through and what we're trying to do to come up with a solution, right? But just knowing that it might be an extra day for us just to get that part, or even longer. Maybe it is something bigger that we just missed on an inspection that we did on our own. Because what we're really telling our drivers to do now is do your pre-inspections now, right? Get your equipment in working order to try to eliminate any of these downtimes. Mm-hmm. But if something does happen to pop up between the time we do our own inspection and the real inspection, it could take some time to get that equipment going.
Yeah, the thing that's vital, like you said, I think that we really push and make sure and that of that proactive communication, right? Working with customers that need that, I guess, and us following through and making sure that the partners that we work with on the logistics side, and then our asset team, making sure if a driver happens to get pulled over, that communication starts going right away, especially if there's a shipper that has or a destination that has an appointment,
Mm-hmm.
so that if that has to move, and like you talk about, like along with planning ahead, like you said, flexibility.
Yeah, flexibility is huge.
Time and flexibility, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at Does it absolutely have to pick up this day? Does it absolutely have to deliver this day? Can we have a window? Having that plan B with customers and shippers to make sure that you can get the right driver and service what they have to move.
Mm-hmm. Along with that, too, is when we talk about less capacity, not only do they have to plan, probably shippers have to plan for flexibility and delays or whatnot, but really, with the law of supply and demand, less trucks on the road. What we do see typically is a little that Thursday or Friday beforehand into that week, rates do jump, right?
Yeah, I've seen it over the time, right? Being with ATS for several years now and, going through some ups and downs through the market conditions, you can definitely feel the Blitz week, right? And that's something that will come with a higher demand because there is less capacity. So like you said, the supply and demand definitely is a factor there. Rates can fluctuate, so what you're used to paying or what you expect to pay may be a little different in that time frame. So something just be prepared for and understanding. And you know what, if it maybe doesn't need to go and you're on a tight budget, space it out, ship it before, or wait till after just to make sure it happens. But just understand that when we're coming to you with pricing and what we really want to do is provide a solution, right? And we're not trying to take advantage of anything, but we can do it, but the solution may cost a little more than you're used to. And that's what we want to make sure that shippers understand is like we're just working through the market that we're in, just like every other market out there.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, not to, like you said, we don't want to scare people into this, but there is certainly like a level really of uncertainty that week, right?
Right.
It seems like some years it's very prominent and Blitz Week takes a huge hit on the industry, and some years it seems while it's still a factor and there's drivers off the road, it's not as prominent, I guess.
Yeah. The volatility, you never know, right? Until you get in the middle of it, you don't know what you're really working with. Sometimes it's more trucks are getting put out of service than we expected because there's always going to be some trucks that are out of service due to this. But sometimes just depending on what's being checked might elevate it. There's other times it's just kind of flowing through and you just kind of work with what you got.
Yeah. Anything else that you got, Jordan, at all that you want to talk about regarding wrapping up? Sure.
About Blitz Week. Honestly, I'm just going to reiterate exactly what Jerry said as far as communication, both on the customer and shipper end as well as our end operationally. We're going to be talking to the customers and shippers as far as we do need that time, we do need that flexibility. And if something does have a delay, we are communicating that right away. But we do expect the same in return as far as communication up front as planning ahead, as well as the communication during and after the process.
Yeah, just to jump on top of that too. And we're trying to do everything on our part, on the carrier side and the asset side and things like that. It's like we're proactively telling our drivers what to expect, what the focus points are, and making sure they know that, the more work they do ahead of time, the preparation they do ahead of time is going to pay off in the end, right? Your equipment could be, just get your equipment in top notch, availability and make sure it looks good and everything's taken care of. And that way, when you do hit those inspections in that Blitz time in those 72 hours, they should have a better chance of getting through with no issues.
Right. So as a shipper, as a customer, you're saying, plan ahead, be flexible. I would say right now, start talking to your transportation partners, those that are in your transportation network, on how do they handle, rolling into Blitz Week, and through that, and what plans of action or steps of action do they take as they come into some potential issues.
Yeah, look for a solution. That's really what we want to be. Is we want to be a solution for our customers and fulfill their needs.
That's the main key.
Yep.
Right. Well, if you guys got nothing else, I want to thank you guys for taking some time. Come chat with me a little bit here, first time host. So I appreciate you guys helping me out here. And I guess up in closing, thanks for visiting and watching today. Go to atsinc.com. If you found this information valuable, check out our learning tools, our learning hub. There's great content. There's some great tools for shippers like you, like our 2024 Freight Shippers Calendar. And again, just want to thank you guys for showing up. And we'll see you again in May for our next topic.